Now we'll move to the structure and requirements of standard ISO 9001-2015. ISO 9001-2015 is composed of 10 clauses or standards, starting from 0, which is the introduction, 1, the subject, 2, normative reference, 3, terms and definitions. Those, of course, are just an introduction, so they're information about the organization in addition to the terms and definitions. Then we have number 4, organizational context, which is talking about the organization and its activities. Number 5, leadership. Number 6, planning. Number 7, support. Number 8, operation. Number 9, performance evaluation, and number 10, improvement. Of course, from planning to improvement, we apply the P, plan, do, study, act cycle. So this demonstrates how the plan, do, check, act cycle works, with the clauses started from 4 to 7 in the plan part, then clause number 8 in the do part, and clause number 9 in the check part, and clause number 10 in the improvement in the act part. So plan, do, check, act. This is the cycle that we use to implement the 10 clauses of ISO 9001-2015. Of course, clauses from 0 to 3 are just introduction, so they are not an actual part of the ISO clauses or ISO standard. Let's start with chapter 4, which is standard for organizational context. The organization defines and takes into account all external and internal parameters, needs and expectations of relevant interested parties, definition of the field of the QMS and its processes. The QMS implementation field should be documented in writing the following. Quality management process should be defined, interact, have defined input, and have expected output. Chapter 5, or standard number 5, leadership. Senior management has the responsibility of committing in terms of a quality management system, in terms of the personnel, and in terms of the customer. The communication of the quality policy as documented written information is a requirement, especially its dissemination to all interested parties. Chapter 6, or standard number 6, planning. In the context of risk management, the organization should be able to identify the positive results of risks or opportunities and the negative results or threats. This can be shown here in the demonstration. The risk could be either positive or negative. If it's positive, it's related to opportunities. If it's negative, it's related to threats. So in our organization, while planning, we need to look at the threats as well as opportunities and how to tackle both of those. The organization should incorporate and implement actions for mitigating threats and exploiting opportunities within the process of the quality management system and evaluate their effectiveness. So each process should be evaluated whether it is a threat or an opportunity, and see how to implement it or use the planning standard to monitor or manage it. Quality targets, implementation, planning of changes to the quality management system. Chapter 7 or standard number 7, support. The organization's resources comprise of existing internal resources such as infrastructure, staff, and anything that needs to be sourced from external providers or suppliers. Of course, many organizations require external providers, for example, for parts of their industry. They probably need experts or trainers, to provide or supply them with with their required needs. So those are requirements for support. Environment for the implementation processes. So the environment should be appropriate for the implementation of the processes. Monitoring and measurement of resources. Of course, we're looking here at continuous measurement, which is monitoring of the resources, measurements and the ability to trace them. So we need to be able to trace them. They also need operational knowledge. They need professional adequacy. Staff's professional adequacy is defined by the organization. Awareness of the organization and communication skills. Chapter 8 or Standard 8, which is operations. Operations planning and control. The implementation of the processes and the organization should define the requirements on products and services, define the control criteria of its processes and the criteria of approval of its products and services, define its resources, define the auditing of its processes based on the criteria, keep appropriately evidenced information to the necessary degree, monitor the actions of risk management and the improvement cycle. So those are needed to be implemented by the organization. Communication with customers. Definitions of the requirements for products and services. The requirements include legal and regulatory requirements, requirements defined by the organization, requirements defined by the customer. Review of the requirements before the release of the product or service, release of the product or service, post-delivery activities related to warranties and standard obligations, design and development of products and services, design of suitable processes, planning for the design and development of products and services. Design and development control, amendments to the processes for the design and development of products and services, results of the design and development of products and services, production of products and provision of services, audit of production of products and provision services, identification and tracing, management of non-compliance results. The non-compliant results can be corrected. In this case, compliance with the requirements must be verified, can be separated and excluded, implies informing the customer and authorization to release the defective product or service, can be returned, and leads to the ease of the provision of the product or service. Audit of products and services provided by external parties. The organization must ensure that processes, services, or products provided by the external parties or suppliers do not impact negatively on its ability to offer compliant products and services to its customers. So the suppliers or the external suppliers should have a standard that is going along with the standard of the organization, so that we don't get to the point where the product is non-compliant and the customer is getting less than the best service by the company or the organization. Information to external providers within the context of its cooperation with external providers. The organization should inform them of the requirements governing this cooperation. So this should be clear with the external providers. What are the requirements the organization need in whatever they get from those external providers. Chapter 9 or Standard 9, Performance Evaluation. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. So we have the monitoring, the measurement, analysis, and the evaluation. What should the organization do? It should define the following. What is going to monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate? So this should be specific. What the organization will monitor, measure, analyze, or evaluate, and when and with what frequency. So when this process is going to take place and how often. We mean by frequency how often. And finally, with which methods. So what is the method that, or the methods that will be used for this process. Customer satisfaction is also part of the performance evaluation. We need to see, or the company needs to look at the customer satisfaction, whether positive or negative feedback. Analysis and evaluation of the activity of the organization. We have also the internal inspection, which should be conducted at scheduled times in order to evaluate the compliance of quality management system with internal ISO 9000-2015 requirements and the effectiveness of the quality management system. So this is internal inspection or internal auditing also called, which is needed to evaluate how compliant the organization in terms of the ISO 9001-2015. Review from the management. It is planned and executed in the following sectors: effectiveness of actions implemented after previous reviews, past reviews, changes or improvements to internal and external parameters, what changes took place or should take place, customer satisfaction, very important, feedback from interested parties, achievement of quality targets, process performance, compliance of product or service or non-compliance, corrective actions, what type of corrective actions we took in the organization, monitoring and measurement results, internal inspection results, supplier performance, and effectiveness of the actions or of threat mitigation and opportunity exploitation. So this should be reviewed, those items should be reviewed by the management to see what is the situation or how far the organization has gone in terms of these standards. Chapter 10 or standard number 10, which is improvement or continuous improvement. The organization should implement improvement regarding meeting product and service requirements, meeting future needs and expectations on products and services, prevention, reduction, elimination of harmful impact on products and services, the performance and effectiveness of quality management system, and finally to look at the continuous improvement. So the improvement is actually a continuous process in any organization to secure the success, and this is important part of ISO 9001 2015. Documentation requirements for applying ISO 9001 2015, confirmation process and product service compliance, which is standard 8.1, clause 8.1, results of the review product service requirements 8.2.3, confirmation that design and development requirements are met 8.3.2, results of design and development process 8.3.5, changes in design and development 8.3.6, results of the evaluation performance monitoring and re-evaluation of suppliers 8.4.1, and product and service characteristics 8.5.1. These are the required documentation for ISO 9001 2015. So those should be prepared for this purpose. Additionally, activities executed during the production and provision of products and service as a result, and the results achieved 8.5.1. Documented information required for traceability 8.5.2. Results of the review in products and services, the approving staff and the required actions 8.5.6. Traceability of people approving the release of products and services for distribution of customers 8.6. Actions taken for non-compliant processed products and services 8.7. Results of the monitoring and measurement of activities 9.1.1. Evidence on the requirements implementation of the program and inspection results 9.2.2. Management review results 9.3.2. Nature of non-compliance, actions taken and actions results 10.2.2. So to summarize this, the steps to be undertaken in order to prepare for the ISO 9001 2015. If the organization is implementing the standard from scratch, then they need to determine the scope of their QMS and identify the processes and their interactions. Once the scope of the quality management system is defined, the processes and their interrelationships are then identified. At this point, the following steps need to be taken. Identify internal and external issues. Identify internal and external parties and their needs. Document the context of the organization, and then develop the regular monitoring and review. By this, we come to the end of the ISO 9000 2015 course overview, which discussed the 7 quality management principles needed to implement ISO 9001 2015. Then we move to the standard or clauses from 0 to 10 and briefly discuss those and explain them. Thank you very much for listening.